The moment the coach has an understanding of this is what is wrong, then you are looking at a solution. You are not looking at awareness. Coaching is principally a journey in not knowing. The moment you have a glimpse of saying, hey, I know what the problem with the client is, you're wrong. You cannot know. That is where the lie is again. Because my DNA is not yours. Who would I know what you're facing inside? And that is from an executive bias because you are paid to solve problems. So you want to solve a problem first. The coach's job is not to solve a problem. The coach's job is to work on awareness which will solve the problem.
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.
If you've been coaching the same client for 20 years, that's not a sign of experience or loyalty, but a failure, says today's guest Ramanathan. Ram is a co-founder of Coacharya, a coach training center in Bangalore in India, and integrating Eastern wisdom with global coaching approaches. And being in his 70s, Ram really projects this wisdom and experience. He's an ICF certified MCC and these days also certifies new master coaches for the ICF. And yet he's also very critical of cognitive coaching approaches. So of course, what we did on today's session is also not a classic coaching session, but a somatic energy awareness process, basically a body scan meditation applied to a coaching issue. So if you're in a place where you can close your eyes and focus on your body, I'd invite you to join the exercise that Ram takes me through a few minutes into the episode. And of course, we also debrief the ins and outs of Ram's approach afterwards and discuss how you can bring this kind of work into your practice, even with very cognitive and scientifically minded clients. Enjoy and let's go. Thanks for being here and taking the time today, Ram.
Thank you.
And as a means of getting to know you, I often ask people the question, who is a typical client of yours and how and what do you usually help them with?
Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, yeah, every client is unique in a way. So I'm not quite sure whether they will all follow a pattern. But in the early days when I started primarily with executive clients because my own background was a corporate leader for several years, CEO, business builder, and all that stuff. And so it appealed to the corporate segment. And that is also more lucrative. They could pay. But over a period of time, do not do too many of individual coaching sessions anymore unless they are personal and especially if they relate to some emotional disturbances and so on, for which I don't charge. So fair amount of that is really pro bono in one way or another way. And primarily because that I've found in my experience with coaching corporate executives, leaders, that how much was a perceived transformation by the clients as well as by the organization. I was unable to find over a period of time when I tracked them that lasted maybe 50 to 60%, either regressed to their past behavior some way or another, or many of them left. They said, oh, Ram, it's been so transformational and this, that, whatever it is, I can no longer work in this organization. All right, I don't want to work anymore. I want to go out on their own. It happened more often than I wanted to because the corporations were paying for it. So there was some kind of obligation that I had to them as well. But they didn't find anything wrong with it, but I was uncomfortable. I personally decided that I will restrict my individual coaching to very, very few. One is the pro bono, and probably if some CEO, someone very senior wanted, okay, if they can afford to pay the rates that I want to levy, that's fine. But other than that, I mostly work with teams of people, leadership teams, in a systemic manner, which means that they work towards an organizational objective. The process starts with team building. So that by itself is a separate topic. So that's one part of it. And within the personal coaching that I do, the pro bono work mostly would be what I would call, which we discussed briefly before in an earlier call, the sensory energy awareness model, where I find most of the coaching that is done today is cognitive. And from a neuroscientific point, you're really listening to lies and analyzing lies, if you want to put it bluntly, because it's perceptions and it's not about really what's really happening out there. And so if you really want to get something out of the raw data, the metadata, then you have to explore the senses. And that's not easy. It's not difficult, but I don't think many people want to go into that rather than asking, hey, what do you think about this limiting belief? It's totally baloney, because what they're going to tell you about their perceptions is what you would want, they want you to hear, or they want to tell the story too. Unless you really go into the details, okay, you can go into emotions at the first level, a little deeper. But unless you go into the raw data, you're not going to get them to divulge what they're experiencing, and that's what I do. So I'll stop here. To be honest, in that story, everyone is unique, differentiated. Their DNAs are different. Somebody comes with an issue of invalidation, somebody with grief, somebody with something else, frustration, whatever. So everyone's problem is quite unique.
Yeah, very interesting. And when you say a lot of coaching is about lies, I guess you don't mean there's a malicious intent, but what it reminds me of is more the Vipassana meditation practice that I've been doing a few years ago, where it is also a lot about observing what you sense in your body. And that's basically the only thing that you can know is true, because anything else that we make up cognitively is sort of the map of the world and not the real world, right? This is, I think, pretty central to your work and how you basically interweave Western and Eastern philosophy in your coaching work, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're done Vipassana, we also discussed about that. Yeah, 20 or 25 years ago, I had my first Vipassana experience. It's amazing. It really takes you in, and it takes you through those layers of stopping the cognitive mind, how the mind plays. It's called default mode. What really happens is the first responders to any experience that we have is really our sensory experiences, and that's where we feel them in the 50 trillion cells of our body, as they talk about it now, rather than the 100 billion cells in just the brain alone. And we don't use that intelligence at all. Very many of us just are even ignorant about it, and we think it's all there in the brain. So if we see a snake, we jump because of what we've heard about snakes from other people, not because we've had any experience with a snake. So it's a lie. Who knows? That snake might be a wonderful snake. That might come and kiss you. What the heck? So we don't know that, but we react out of that fear. And the same way we jump with joy about something which is going to cause you trouble later, all that kind of a stuff. Which is what I mean by lies. Of course, if you talk to someone who's cognitive coaching and they will tell you, oh, you're talking rubbish. Okay, fine. So can it be? But the fact is I can prove it's rubbish. That when you are coaching with perceptions, oftentimes what you're hearing from the client has nothing to do with what you're really feeling. So you are responding to what the client is saying as their perceptions, and you're asking questions on that, and you think that you have solved the problems, and the problem still remains. So there are some people, when I talk to them, they say, oh, I have been coaching this person for 20 years, or like a therapist. So what's a big deal? Then why do you call yourself a good coach? The whole idea of coaching is to make the other person independent through their self-awareness creation. So it's an insult to coaching profession if you were to coach for anybody more than about 6 months to a year, till such time the neuroscientific, the plasticity, etc. sets in, and the whole thing anchors, maybe maximum about a year or so. And that's the same problem I have with therapists. If somebody says, oh, I have been going to this therapist for 20 years, I said, what's wrong with you? Then instead of having been addicted to something else, you are getting addicted to a therapist. How are they helping you? That today an AI robot can do better. Cognitive coaching can be done by AI better. So these people are going to be out of jobs very quickly, very, very soon. And that's why I call it a lie. And any perception like NLP, if you're familiar with the neuro-linguistic programming, very clearly says the map is not the territory. It never is the territory, right? It's your perceptions, and the territory's reality is very different. Yeah, hence.
Yeah, and when I listen to you, what I find quite fascinating is the way you combine basically neurobiology. And even though I use this language today, having spent 10-ish years in the coaching industry, I also speak of energy in that way. Yet there's also this part of me who was trained as an engineer and who says energy is something we measure in kilowatt hours and in joule. And how can that be in my body? I think a lot is also about language, and how I come to terms with it is like just asking, okay, not is it true or how is it true, but more how is it useful? And so I suggest we just go a bit into such a process, and you maybe show us how you apply the energy awareness and how you integrate it into a coaching process.
Sure, brilliant. So yeah, this is something we talked about, and also you showed me some of your cards, which can, okay, very simply put it is this. I'll briefly take you through. I think Einstein famously said that you can never arrive at a solution when your consciousness is still in the problem state. So you've got to move out of that. Whenever we start any kind of a coaching work, invariably, like if you're going to talk about something that is bugging you, something that is giving you sleepless nights, whatever it may be. So you are in a disempowered situation. First, you have to be empowered. So I'll take you through that anchoring state where you can go into a little high, at least temporarily for the time being, and you become more aware. And then what I'm going to ask you is experience whatever that you are experiencing as a negative, because we are not coaching you for something joyful that you can do yourself. It's only if it is causing you some issues. And I don't want any context or any content, zero, absolutely zero, except to state, okay, I'm having this problem, I want to get out of it. I might ask you, okay, if you get out of it, what's going to happen to you and how would you know it, or something of that sort, so that we put a framework. And then I would ask you, what is it that you are really sensing in your body, typically in your trunk area, which is where the real body energy manifests. Not in your head, it's cognitive, not in your limbs maybe, but if you can. And since you've done Vipassana, I think it should be much easier for you to be able to go within yourself and able to feel that. So as you go through it, you will find, and that is where people may say that I'm being a quack, but the point is, when you start sensing it and you start observing it, and I use languages which are used in coaching. You talked about language. David Grove's clean language, which is about using metaphors and so on. And nonviolent communication by Rosenberg, which is about moving from observations, feelings, requests, and needs and requests, those kind of things, in that model. And what really happens is something really fascinating, that as you observe what is happening within you, you can compare it to the metaphor or whatever, color, shape, size, this, that, whatever, you see it morphing, it changes. And that's the observer effect. And that you can do normally. I mean, in the future, you can use it for, if supposing I have a pain, I have a headache, I have anything else, then I find that just focusing on it for a period of time reduces that pain, makes it more manageable. What I earlier thought was going to be really terrible, I have to go and take immediately Tylenol equivalent, whatever it may be, I don't need to. Of course, if it repeats, I have to go to a doctor and get that. I'm not saying that it's going to cure me. But there are many solutions to many chronic illnesses which today do not respond to classical medical treatment, however sophisticated. That's very much based on this observer effect. And the background to that, the way I came into it, is the chakra energy principles of Vedic science and what is used in Vipassana as well. They don't propagate it, but that's really what happens when you go into the century. So that is broadly the explanation for it. So essentially what you're really looking at, as I earlier said, you are not asking questions superficially, transactionally about the cognitive perceptions and landing up with, okay, again, superficial solutions or non-solutions or even emotions, but you're going deeper into the metadata and you're looking at the metadata of senses. And then you are working with raw data. So when you're ready, we can start that. And what I would like to do is, because when you showed me some of those cards, they're very, very interesting in terms of creating awareness. So when I'm asking you to send something, maybe I could ask you, hey, look, I mean, as you look at it in shape, size, structure, whatever it is, instead of trying to describe it in words, would you like to show me your card? And what does it mean to you?
Okay, super curious. I mean, we can also link a demonstration without pictures in the show notes, but I'm super excited to do the one with also actual pictures.
This I leave it to you, totally leave it to you, because you are the one who's going to look at the pictures and then say, hey, this is a picture that resonates for me, and maybe you can just show it to me for reference and say, hey, this is what it means to me.
For sure. Okay.
So I'll take you through the anchoring first, and then if you have something that you would like to talk to me about, an issue already formed in your mind, which is that what you are describing, yeah. So, very simply, it's not any kind of religious meditation or not even vipassana. It's a very, very simple centering kind of exercise. If you could just, the process that, yeah, sit straight with your spine erect, with your hands on your lap, maybe hands open. At a time when I ask you to put it together, just put it together with the two fingers touching. Yeah, feet firmly planted on the floor. With your spine erect, if you could just eyes closed, breathe deeply, and as you're breathing in, just tense your body from toe to head all through, and just hold it for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale now, completely untensing, relaxing, 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 and hold. Once again, just once more, take a deep breath, inhale from below your navel, tense yourself, and then hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax, 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 relax. And okay. So now in this position with your eyes still closed, breathe deeply, as deeply as you can from below your navel. Hold it for maybe a count of 3. Exhale very slowly. Hold and breathe again. Do it a couple of times more, 3 in all. Now quickly, we'll keep it simple. Just believe that you are now breathing through your heart space instead of your nose, which is what you do anyway. But unlike in Vipassana, where you are feeling the breath fall on your upper lip as it enters the nostrils coming out. Now visualize that you are actually breathing through your heart space. And as you're breathing through the heart space, deeply inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. Just try and sense what is it that you're feeling in the area around the heart. Is it a feeling of the skin moving, the heartbeat you're able to hear, sense, blood flowing, pounding, crawling, whatever it may be, whatever that sensation is. And if you're able to feel something, whatever that feeling is, just raise your hand a little bit to tell me when you're able to feel that. Keep breathing deep, holding, exhaling, and holding. And especially when you're holding in between breathing in and out, just listen to your body. Are you able to feel anything at all in the heart space? Thank you. That is all. That is what you have to do. Whatever that sensing that happens. So now that you're able to sense what it is, again, a few more breaths, deep in, deep out, exhale. And staying in the heart space, let the breathing happen in the background. Now visualize yourself in a space where you are, a past experience where you've been very joyful. Something that you wanted has happened to you, something that you were able to help somebody with and you feel very good about it. You are in the midst of people who are appreciating you. You are in the center of this beautiful picture in your mind, as large as possible, as colorful as possible, with sounds, with even the feelings of smell, touch, and taste perhaps, if you are in a party, whatever it may be. Just visualize yourself in a space of joy, fulfillment, peace, whatever it is that you would like to. It doesn't have to be very active. You could be in the middle of a beautiful garden and you're enjoying yourself watching a sunset. It could be anything. Whatever it is that makes you really joyful and fulfilled. And again, raise your hand slightly to indicate to me that you're able to experience this beautiful space of empowerment. Thank you. And as you're deeply experiencing it, put the two fingers of your hand, each hand separately together in a circle. Press it as hard as you can. And as you're breathing deep and holding just for a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press your hands together. Release. And once more, as you experience this beautiful scenario where you are so joyful, as you breathe in deep, just hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anchor it. Thank you. And any time in the future, if you wish, just practice this. Since you already experienced Vipassana, it should come in very easy for you. But press your fingers together and you would immediately, it'll take you back as a kinesthetic anchor to that space that you are in. That's really what we want to achieve with this exercise. Thank you. Please open your eyes. So at some point, as you are going through this sensory energy awareness process, I would ask you to do that to sort of take you into the empowered state and anchor that. So be it as may. As of now, yeah, it's all your platform. You tell me just a little, I mean, whatever that is you're experiencing, no details, but what is it that you want to happen as a goal in the session? And how would that be of benefit to you?
I'm wondering how to phrase it so not to reveal too much content, but which I wouldn't mind doing. So I just share a bit or
No, don't share it because I want people who are listening to it also, I want them to. The whole idea of this is why it works as a powerful coaching methodology is there's nothing to be not confidential about. And even don't know anything to share about. So it automatically confidentiality and privacy is built into it. So to that extent that if somebody wants to practice it themselves and you want to tomorrow do it with somebody else without violating any privacy, you should be able to do it without having to ask them for details. It's not
yeah.
necessary. Yeah.
So for me, just on a high level, it is about connection, let's say.
Relationships.
Relationships, yes.
Okay. Difficulty in relationships.
Yeah. And yeah, maybe loneliness or feeling connected.
Okay. Fine.
So not even difficulty with one particular relationship, but more in
Okay.
general.
Fair enough. And if you're able to overcome that, to be able to be connected with people, engaged with people, what they call interpersonal sensitivity or even sociability and so on, in what way, apart from even that you are talking about loneliness, overcoming loneliness, but what would that lead to as Tobi as a more fulfilled person?
I would be able to feel safe. And in this case, it's also a bit about projecting the safety to people I'm close to. So helping them to be safe, feel safe.
Brilliant. So not only would you feel better, be safe, but you would also be able to create that engagement and trust and so on to make other people better. Brilliant. Let's just leave it at that. And I'm sure that you've tried various other things. We won't go into any of those details, which are the typical coaching questions. So I want to is it possible for you to experience a situation where you have tried to establish that connection, but that did not happen for whatever reason it may be? Experience a situation or where you felt unable to connect, as it were.
Yeah, I think I would go a bit into a different context, but I can think of a situation, yeah.
So I just want you to be there, immerse yourself into that situation, experience it. Then all my questions would be about where are you feeling it in your body? Because that thought cannot just happen. The thought would arise from a sensory experience and then an emotion and a thought, as we explained earlier. So in your body, between your throat and your lower abdomen, as it were, in that space of the trunk, once you are able to experience something, just raise your hand and then just tell me where you're experiencing and how you're experiencing it. No interpretations, no emotions, no thoughts, just what you're sensing.
Bit of emptiness in my stomach.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is there a metaphor that you want to describe or you want to pull out on your cards and tell me, hey, this is what that emptiness feels like? Or would you like some shape, some color? Is it opening up? Is it closed? What is it?
Okay, let me scroll over some cards. Maybe it is actually this one.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
So the faceless person in the fog, covered up almost to non-recognition, not invisibility. So what would that mean to you?
It's tense. It's like, in a way, of course, I think it's quite obvious that you can see this sort of loneliness aspect in there, but I think for me it also has a bit this closing off to experience. So he's like shrugging his hands or folding his arms and basically closing off his body to whatever is coming his way. So that's, I think, a metaphor that I can
Yeah.
also describe this sensation with.
Absolutely. It's almost like a tortoise pulling itself into the shell kind of a thing, looking down, my face closed. Okay, now that we have, why I'm doing this is normally I wouldn't do that because it moves into a space of where there's some amount of cognition. There is, okay, that's okay. But I want to see how helpful that is because I was also very impressed by what I was able to create as awareness. So this is very, very good. So, because it brings in a metaphor in a much more visual form, which is one of the core principles of clean language in terms of putting it in a picture format. So, then moving into the deeper aspect of it. So, as you are feeling it in your stomach, now at this moment, I would just like to go to close your eyes and then feeling that what's happening to that. Now that you have looked at it and you're watching it, is there anything happening to that emptiness?
Can sort of feel the sensation of this image, kind of the folded arms, I want to protect myself, I don't want to have to do anything to do with the world, kind of.
Okay.
This idea.
Other than the color of this image, if you leave that out for a moment, if it's possible, does that emptiness or the void itself in your stomach, does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Is it getting bigger? Is it expanding, spiked? Anything else that you can use to describe?
I think it would actually have a bit this fogginess, this expanding white mist that also feels a bit cold.
Okay. In a degree of discomfort, 0 is no discomfort, 10 is very high discomfort or pain. Where are you at as you are immersing yourself into this scenario and experiencing this?
6, maybe.
6. Okay. Can you take a deep breath and exhale loudly through the mouth? Inhale through the nose, like that, 2 or 3 times. Now, if you watch your stomach space, how does it feel? Is there any difference at all?
It's like the mist is fading, the colors is getting a bit warmer, maybe a bit more yellow, orange, warm.
So the discomfort level from 6, where would it be now?
3.
Okay. Since it is still there, I would like you to very humbly, curiously ask this sensation in your body, which is a part of you. You are uncomfortable, and as a result, I'm uncomfortable, and I would like to be of help, and I'm sure you want to help me. What is it that I can do to help you become comfortable, making me comfortable? In whatever word you want to use, as curiously, as humbly as possible, vulnerably, ask that and see if you can get some kind of an answer.
Make me feel safety.
The sensation is telling you, make me feel safe. Is that what you're saying? Can you ask, so what can I do to be able to make you feel safe?
Be there, continue.
Okay. Can you ask a little more about what is it that you are expected to do by being there and continuing? Unless you are clear yourself what it means.
Yeah, I think it's a trust in this process and a kind of curiosity towards it. That's where this originates from.
So can you just respond saying, yes, I'll be there, I'll continue, I'll have trust in this process, I'll take responsibility. And let me feel how that results for you. Assure that sensation that you will do what it requests you to do.
So now it's me talking to this sensation in a way.
Yep. You're talking to your body, you're talking to your own energy.
Yeah.
So how does it look now? How does that sensation feel now after this conversation?
I would say it's still like at 1 or 2.
Okay. So do you know what you can do further to leave it at this 1 or 2, practice for some more time? Or do you want to go through this inquiry a little bit more?
I think I could use this image that we anchored earlier and maybe try that.
Sure. Then take a look at that and see if there's anything else that is coming up, or is there another image that you would like to choose? Now that it has become a little bit better, it's your choice.
Yeah, I meant actually maybe I actually choose one more image. I had the inner image from the exercise earlier in mind. but this could also be interesting. I take the Russian dolls.
Okay. Can you explain what this would probably represent to you?
What I see there is this warm comfort of family. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be family, but like this close community of trust where you can feel the safety that we spoke about earlier.
So you are saying that you are feeling that is a space you are in now at this point in time? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's what helped chase the mist away in a way.
Okay. So it's distinctly different from the first image, which was about sort of holding yourself close, tight, and not looking at anything and so on, to something where you're now saying that you can feel the warmth. So as a shift, what does that indicate to you in terms of your own insight as to what's happening within you and how that will help you in your actions?
I think even when I'm alone, like holding this image in mind helps to get this sense of community, of safety, and especially also when I'm with others. If I have this in my body, sort of this sense of safety, community, belonging, then I can also give it in a way, and I can project it onto others.
Okay. I'm doing this mainly for the purpose of those who may be coaches who are listening to you, because nonviolent language, there's a thing about the need. Your need is moving away from that loneliness. The image that you showed earlier is to go into this space which represents to you a much more communal family kind of feeling. That's what it is. And from there, the request is that, yeah, how is that going to happen? That is something that you will develop for yourself. This is brilliant. You can, of course, do this more. And then as you progress further, you could look at other images which are much more explicit in terms of maybe changes that are happening to you. So at this point, I just want you to again close your eyes. And then when you think about the same experience, is there any other part of the body where the sensation is coming up? Earlier, it was coming up in your stomach, the way that you explained it. Is it completely gone? Or is there any other tension, void, whatever, discomfort in any other part of your body?
Maybe around the heart area, like left chest area.
How does that feel like? Is it tightness? Is it a void again? What is it it's coming up as?
Yeah, some sort of nervousness, like, I don't know.
Is it a negative nervousness, or is it
Yeah.
like the butterflies in our stomach, which is about something we're anticipating, which might turn out to be good? What does it feel like to you?
Yeah, I would say it's more of a residue of the sensation from earlier.
Okay. Would you like to take a few of those deep breaths and blow it out a few times and see whether it still stays or goes? Like that. How does it feel now?
Or light,
So
open.
open. Okay. Then take a few deep breaths and just scan the rest of your body, just if you want to be sure that there is no other residual feeling left. Are you okay?
Yeah.
So now take a few deep breaths, and then as you're breathing deep, center yourself in your heart and put the two fingers together in the kinesthetic anchor and elevate yourself into that joyful experience that you had at the beginning, that you had anchored yourself into. And in that safe space, as it were, commit yourself that I know what to do now, and this will help me moving towards my being connected, engaged with others so that it helps me and helps other people. And press your fingers together as hard as possible, anchoring it, and later experiencing it in interactions that you have. Okay, if you're comfortable, if you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Yeah, thank you.
So you can actually, I mean, Tobi, it's very good in a sense that, I mean, these cards are certainly helping. It's not superficial, it's quite deep, and you can very, very powerfully interconnect them, and we could do something more. We'll talk about that separately anyway. But so this is something which you can now anchor this and practice for the next about couple of weeks, my request to you, so that you feel that you are now comfortable, confident in terms of connecting yourself with other people, and you're able to see what changes in you as a result of that. From the space of loneliness that you felt. And again, I don't want to use it as a cliche, but there's a difference between loneliness and aloneness. I'm sure you know that. Aloneness is fine. Aloneness is absolutely the most desirable state, to be disengaged. But at the same time, you will be engaging with people in different ways. You don't necessarily sort of, get meshed up in their space, but you're able to witness it and be able to do whatever helps people. But lonely is not a good space to be in. So just keep me briefed as well. Let me know how you're progressing. If there's anything else, we can always do this exercise again. So if you want, you can put out these pictures, and then if you need to ask me something more, if there are some other things that you would like more explanation on, let me know. Mm-hmm. So if you want to know about the demonstration of the SEAM, the SEAM, this is as simple as it gets, and there's nothing more really you need to know. I wouldn't get into the diagnostics. There could be diagnostics. If you're familiar with the chakra principle and all that, I don't think those are necessary. Because ultimately, like in any coaching, it's awareness of the client that matters, not the awareness of the person who's doing the therapy and they're sort of stating whatever they think is God's gift to humanity. That's not true. So it's your feeling. And from whatever little we did, I'm very confident that this awareness would help you move forward. So practice it. And try it with other people. Try it yourself first and try it with other people.
Yeah, it was very interesting, like especially the breathing. It was surprising how much that actually had this cleansing effect on the body sensations. That I found very impressive now as in the role as a client. And if I relate it to my coach experience, then it reminds me very much of NLP work that you also mentioned earlier, where I don't recall the exact method. Like NLP is a lot into methods and kind of the cooking recipes. But there's definitely also a lot of this, okay, let me visualize a very positive state I was in. Let me anchor that with a body movement or those fingers, pressing the fingers on top of each other. But what at least I didn't do back then in my training, and since I've done it, was this meticulous attention to the trunk part of the body. So I think it was a lot more about, okay, what do you hear? What do you maybe taste? And less this element of, okay, what do you experience in your chest, in your belly area? What role does that play when we also look at it through the energy lens? Why do we look at, you said, like from throat to belly button or something?
Yeah.
Why this area?
That's more, from a chakra perspective. Look, sure, there are... Okay, let me put it this way. First of all, addressing what you said about NLP, absolutely true. What you're referring to is a trance state, the sensory effects and so on. The kinesthetic anchor is very, very NLP. Of course, in the Vedic sciences, there's something called a mudra, but what I'm doing here is very much NLP. And then there's box breathing, which is today known all over the world, but NLP has a variant of that. Anxiety, which is where you felt in your stomach, the relationship issues in your heart, and communication issues here. So the stomach is more about the anxieties that you're facing, the loneliness, etc. That's very common here, the stress, and then moves to the heart where there's a residual feeling of, hey, how am I going to connect? How am I going to get this to be practiced? That kind of a stuff. And sometimes there's good question in the throat. And here it's about, I don't want to use names, but some of our leaders today who think they are all powerful. They know everything. They are wise beyond means. They are stupid beyond means. That's the state they are in. And they are in many ways.
And you're pointing to your forehead right now, right? So for anybody who's not watching, earlier you were pointing at your throat, and now this is forehead.
If you focus on your left breathing, that helps your right brain, and that helps to release more of oxytocin. Mm-hmm. Whereas more of right breathing, which is affecting your left thinking brain, could potentially raise the cortisol and adrenaline. So use it for different purposes. So if, let's say, you want to get into an action mode and you've got something very quick to achieve and you need to do it, then probably a bit of right breathing, right side breathing, right nostril breathing, closing the left. The otherwise, what?
And when you say left or right breathing, you say, okay, I focus on the left part of the lung, or I
No,
breathe in through the
on nostril. So if I say left breathing, you close slightly press down your right
right
nostril
nostril.
and for a few minutes, just focus through your mouth closed to the left.
And that would be a relaxation exercise because it lowers
Yeah,
cortisol.
that's a relaxation exercise. And that is what I do. Normally, what I would do is I lie down on my right side and automatically it sort of compresses the right side of my nostril, the left, and I go to sleep much faster. But in the morning, if I remember to, I turn around and then breathe through the right nostril to be able to sort of get myself active. It works. And there are other things that you can do. There are something to do with the hand postures, which will help as well. Those are, I wouldn't say advanced, but they are techniques which help. But just this alone would help you. And this has got scientific basis for it because the polyvagal nerve. And especially if you do your left breathing, focus on your heart center and visualizing yourself sending out love and compassion to people.
So just to recap, the exercise would be to close the right nostril, breathe in through the left, focus on the heart center, and adopt this attitude of compassion towards myself and towards the whole world.
And as you said, serving other people.
Yeah,
But then
very interesting.
controversial areas. So
Yeah, a lot of what we are discussing reminds me of a conversation that I had on this show also with another executive coach, Niels, who worked at McKinsey previously. So very, very sort of, I think, I'm not even sure, I wouldn't call him a cognitive person, but for sure he works with cognitive people. And he also said, like, I remember him very vividly saying, sometimes he's on the train and sees all these tense people and says he would want to shake them up and say, just sigh, because the sighing would basically cleanse and help you relax and get the cortisol level down. And that's also what I really experienced today on this small exercise that we did.
yeah.
And I think what at least back then I didn't see in him talking about this was these elements of, okay, feeling these into these different areas of the upper body. And what I found interesting is that you also even allocated certain maybe emotions to certain parts of the body. Where would I have to look a bit more into this? Like, is that you mentioned the chakras?
Yeah, he's
Or
absolutely.
what is that?
The chakras are essentially not just energy points, but they're also about emotions.
Look a bit more into this. Like, is that you mentioned the chakras?
Yeah, he's
Or
absolutely.
what is that?
The chakras are essentially not just energy points, but they're also about emotions. So I said, like the root center, it's called the bottom of the spine, your perineum point, is about greed, unfulfilled desires, forever wanting to have more, lust, greed, all that. And then the next level, the spleen center, as it's called, somewhere in your lower abdomen, is about fear, the seven deadly sins kind of a thing, emotions, they reside there. They get lightened up as you go towards the navel, which is more about stress. I call it the corporate center. You see your boss and you feel something in your stomach because you're not comfortable. Sometimes for some people it happens when they see their spouse, but that's a different thing. But so that's a kind of the stress center that's affecting you. So you let go of that stress, then you are more capable of getting things done. The heart is always the love center, the acceptance, the gratitude, compassion, everything that is, and that is the point at which the three lower centers are about yourself, your inner turmoils. So that's where you would focus when you have an internal problem. This is where you are expanding to meet the rest of the world. You are connecting with the ecosystem. And the throat is very often, you can relate it to the Maslow's fourth level, which is a cognitive. You can take with Maslow is very, very similar. The lower two are very lower, the safety needs and security needs are there. The first two chakras, or even a little bit of third. The emotional center is really your heart. The cognitive center is your cognitive invalidation. Your boss tells you that you are an idiot and you feel bad about it. And that is where your throat chakra gets stuck. So to get yourself in cognitive validation, you work on your throat chakra. And self-realization happens at these 2 points, the forehead and the top. This is how, in a very simplistic way, that you work with the emotions.
Okay, thanks for sharing. For a few more minutes, I would like to take this a bit into the coaching practice. And I know you accredit MCC ICF certified coaches. And I am wondering, how is this approach being received in this world? Because we did very little of what I have experienced as ICF coaching, what you probably talked about in the beginning of our conversation as cognitive coaching. How would you bring this up if you would be working with a Western cognitive-minded executive? How would you bring that into the coaching session?
Actually, if you go to our website and take a look, we say it explicitly that we bring the Eastern scriptural wisdom, spiritual wisdom, to align with the Western evidenceable scientific research. That's our core pillar. And the Kocharya, okay, let me show you this particular symbol. This is the Kocharya logo. It's getting redone. The zero stands for when your mind is zero, your energy is infinite. And the Enzo it's an Enzo circle, the Zen circle, which is about really the not knowing, unconnected, uncertain, but it's still complete. And this is the infinity. It's like a yogi meditating, but that's what it means. So we make it pretty explicit. So people come to us because of that. But of course, they want to pass their ICF accreditation, and therefore they need to have that competency model. But we frame it in such a way that they can do both. ICF doesn't say you, in fact, many of the new ICF competency models are evolving towards where there's more importance which is paid to emotions, energy, etc. So ICF does recognize that. But unfortunately, the trainers have to recognize that. The education bodies have to recognize that. So ICF is not standing in the way. ICF competencies are not standing in the way. All that they are saying is like when I started, okay, what you want to accomplish, does it have clarity? Does it have an importance? What are the challenges you're facing? Where you would like to be? That's what I asked you. So you establish that and move forward into a space of trust, establishing that and presence, and then you explore by as much listening as you can do, which is what I was trying to do, allow you to express, and listening, the visualization helps and create awareness. So it's very much based on an ICF competency. A conversation like this, okay, maybe some more needs to be added because there has to be a little more explicitness in terms of the agreement selection. Will pass for a reasonably good MCC credential, perhaps. So that's not an issue. But at the end of it, do people practice it themselves? That's the issue. Because all coaching has to start from self-coaching. Are you applying it yourself? Like you said, I'm facing loneliness. Do I want to get rid of it first? If you don't, and then you say, oh, I'm now competent as an ICF, PCC or MCC, I'm going to help people cure their loneliness. You haven't cured your own. That is the lie that people are living. They would hate me. They would want to kill me if they hear me. But that's what it is.
So you need to do your own work first.
Yeah, it is like Hippocrates said, physician, heal thyself. Have you healed yourself? And then you talk about healing other people. So every single thing that I say or do is after having experienced it. This kind of a process, I have done it myself, and yeah, I'm not perfect, but certainly there's an experience. So knowledge by itself is garbage, but unless it is put through the crucible of reflection and practice, and it becomes wisdom, and then you can impart that wisdom. The ICF, it's easy to blame the ICF. Oh, the competency model, it is being made into some kind of a automatic kind of a thing. No, it's not. It's extremely well crafted, well thought out set of competencies, where our differentiation is we make people understand what is real meaning of those competencies, not just go by the word, not the semantic aspect of it, go deeper into it, sentient and sensory aspect of it. You do that. If you do that, you're already at the mastery level.
Yeah, and what I could also see if I would now use this in my next coaching session, I think what I would do is I would interweave it a bit more with the actual coaching conversation where there's plenty of space for the client to talk. And I think today you made a point of you as a coach, you don't even need to know what this is about for me. And you wanted to get that across. But I could also approach it differently and sort of do this exercise, but then have the client speak in length about the issue also, and then do the other part of the exercise. Would you say that's valid, or do we now then risk to become boggled up into in cognitive issues again?
Yeah. Look, I'm saying it's a little more than just not knowing. The moment a coach has an understanding of this is what is wrong, then you are looking at a solution. You are not looking at awareness. Coaching is principally a journey in not knowing. The moment you have a glimpse of saying, hey, I know what the problem with the client is, you're wrong. You cannot know. That is where the lie is again. Because my DNA is not yours. How would I know what you're facing inside? And that is from an executive bias because you are paid to solve problems. So you want to solve a problem first. The coach's job is not to solve a problem. The coach's job is to evoke on awareness, which will solve the problem.
And so in that sense, it's actually helpful if you as a coach don't know anything about the issue.
Exactly. Which is why I don't want to ask them anything. Okay, sure. I would like to make the client be clear. Okay, if I, like you said, you had to think a bit. What will happen if I'm no longer feeling lonely? You didn't have the answer immediately. You had to think about it. How will it serve other people? In a regular coaching conversation, maybe I would have gone deeper into it. How exactly will you do? What will be the actions, etc.? I would have done that to sort of complete that conversation. But here, the idea was to go through this. So, I mean, in simple terms, a coach should not know. And then automatically, there and that. You shouldn't be a voyeur. Unfortunately, we want to know, oh, what happened? What is your emotion? What did that person say? How did that trigger you? Why the hell do you want to know? Why don't you ask them how were you triggered? Let them explain how they got triggered. It's okay.
Okay, so if I ask as a coach and if we have more of a coaching conversation in between the exercise, then what I need to keep in mind is that I am asking not to know myself and to understand myself, but I'm asking for the client to understand and be clear about.
Brilliant. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like coaches always say, I need to understand. Why the hell should you need to understand? They are paying you dollars, damn it. For you to understand, you need to understand them. The client needs to understand themselves. Stop saying, I need to understand. And don't thank the client. They're not sort of help you. So, you know, these are minor things, but that is really the mindset that needs to change.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So if I now say I will try this on my next session, what would be your final words? What should Go ahead.
Just practice it for 2 weeks. Be confident of yourself. Go ahead. That's the only way you will learn. You will initially have problems. You will make some mistakes. So what? I'm fond of saying this. Coaching is not about life and death. I haven't seen anybody who died in a coach's chair or in a client's chair. So it's okay. So you can always say, yeah, okay, fine, let's start all over again. That's all right. But do it yourself. Make sure that you feel confident and then work with others.
Thank you, Ram.
Take care. All the best. And so when you're ready, share the conversation with me. Thanks.
This was my session with Ramanathan. You can find out more about his work and their training programs on coacharia.com and also on their YouTube channel, where Ram and his colleagues have plenty of similar demos and conversations. I can really recommend having a look. The visual coach platform we used today to select the powerful pictures that we used in the session is metafox.online. You can go there and try it completely for free. And with the coupon code ImpactfulCoach without any space, you can also get 3 months of completely free pro access, so you really have plenty of time to explore all features. If you have questions on this kind of work or feedback on this podcast episode, leave a comment or shoot me an email to tobias@metafox.eu. If you liked it, share it with a fellow coach or a friend. I'm Tobi, co-founder of Metafox, and I wish you all the best on your path towards becoming an impactful coach. See you back here in 2 weeks. Cheers and bye-bye.
I'll make it as a coach, light the spark inside, empower every soul to turn the tide. I'll make it as a coach, help others grow, changing lives with every story I know.